Hey, what's up, North County? I'm your host, Randy Doty, and today we have a very special guest. We have Sheriff Chad Bianco with the Riverside Sheriff Department, and hopefully soon to be governor.
Absolutely. Next year, at a little bit past this time, you're next governor.
That's going to be awesome. So was that? I mean, has that always been your sights? I mean,
No.
I know you're the sheriff down in Riverside.
That's the furthest thing from my sights. And I guess, truth be told, I didn't wake up and say, oh, I want to be governor or anything like that. I don't even know if I want to be governor. I know I have to be the governor. And it was, in a selfish way, I have my dream job. I'm the sheriff of Riverside County. It's a fantastic county, fantastic agency. My agency loves me. My county loves me. I've got a really good life there. But I know that California is broken, and the path that we're on is not going to change without a drastic option to choose from in the next election. And it took a lot of convincing of other people to say, man, we could do that here. We could make a difference here. The law enforcement aspect, public safety is so broken in California, it affects everyone. And it was really that route. And then me being in Sacramento, fighting for public safety a lot, and then last year fighting for Prop 36, traveling the state, being the kind of like the law enforcement face of Prop 36, that really exposed me to more of the state, and it was like, well, we might be able to do this. And eventually I ended up saying, if not me, then who? And you never know who it's going to be, so you better have some type of input on our next governor. And I know that if the state's going to change, it has to be a Republican governor. And I'm really, especially now, not discounting anybody else that wants to get in or anything like that, and it's certainly not personal, but I'm the only person on the Republican side that has a chance of winning a statewide election. And that's really where I'm at right now. I mean, I wish there was some big name that I could get behind, and I would just stay the sheriff of Riverside County and I would be fine. But there's not, and nobody else is going to get in. We can see now that the momentum that we have going is kind of phenomenal. It's taking everyone by storm, including the Democrats. We're raising more money than all of my opponents. We have minimum of double the donors of every other candidate that is running both parties. And it's really is showing that California is looking for something different. We've had enough. We're fed up. And I think we're even getting past the whole Democrat and Republican thing. And we just want to vote for California. And we want somebody that's going to represent all of Californians.
Well, I mean, it's obviously everybody knows the current state that we're in. I mean, it's a mess, and having some sort of leadership, we need this. Yeah,
I believe that Californians are actually starving for leadership. They are starving for a leader that they can put in office that they know is not only going to be honest with them, is going to be transparent with them, but has the integrity, the character, and the leadership ability to do what's best for all of California. Not a special interest, not a lobbyist group, even anything personal, and definitely even not a personal or political ideology or agenda. I truly am only doing this, sacrificing truly what I believe is my greatest career. My job is perfect. Even my retirement, sacrifice all of that because I know that I can make the lives of Californians better.
Sure. So let's step back. So born in Utah. So tell me about the journey coming from Utah to California.
It's quite the journey, and it's a life. It's worlds apart. I grew up the oldest of three boys in a very, very small mining town. It was a town of immigrants. My family is Italian, but it's really Italians, Greeks, Polish. There were a couple of other, ethnic groups, but they all came there to work in the coal mines. And everyone immigrated there. So everyone was first, second, maybe generation. Everybody that I grew up with was first, second generation, maybe third generation Americans from other countries. And I grew up with just very, very strong values, ethics, morals, integrity. Your word means everything. My family dynamic, my my grandpa on my mom's side was the cowboy influence, and my grandpa on my dad's side was, depending on who you talk to, was either the businessman or the mafia influence. But either way, the values are all the same. It's about your honor, your integrity, your name. Your handshake means everything. Look people in the eye. Don't dishonor your name. Don't dishonor your parents, and work hard. And make a life for yourself and care about other people. And that's truly how I grew up. Very, very small town, 1,200 people.
Oh,
and I say,
like here.
Yeah, I say all the time, there's probably about 500 adult males in the town, and so I had 500 dads. Right. And I mean, my dad knew everything that I did by the time I got home. He knew how my day went. And so we were just raised different. We were a lot more free. It was the country. It was hunting, fishing. I grew up with horses. We didn't have cattle, anything like that, but my friends did. And so we grew up that, hunting, fishing. It was a great life. And I came to California really, I guess, for something different, for something bigger. When I was 11, I fell in love with California. I came here for a Little League World Series, and we were in Santa Monica. And I went home and told my parents I was moving. And they made me promise to wait till I was an adult. And so I did. I came here as an adult. 22 years old when I moved here. I met my California beauty queen, married her. We raised a great family, and now we're grandparents. And the sad part of where we arrived is I came here for a better life. I came here for that California dream. Growing up, the West Coast, California was this big beacon in the sky of, if you want to make it, if you want a life, you have to go to California to do it. And sadly, my kids, they're adults, but they're looking for other states for their dream. They're looking, where is it more affordable? Where can I afford a house? Where are there better schools to raise our kids? And it's disheartening to me, because mine was the last generation. I had it. I was able to achieve that dream, and it's almost out of the reach of my kids. And I feel like I can do something to turn it around. It's not because of businesses here. It's not because of the people. The people are great. The businesses are great. Our environment here is second to none. The topography of California, the beaches, the mountains, the deserts, the farming, no matter what it is, it's second to none. Any country or any state in the country. And it's the government that's making people leave. It's a failed government that has failed its residents. And I truly do believe that it just is going to take a direction change, a correction, and we're going to make that happen.
Sheriff, tell me a little bit about like your area down there in Riverside. You know, you started the sheriff department down there in, like, you've been in the law enforcement for 30 plus years,
Yep,
correct?
32 years. I started in 1993. I put myself through San Bernardino Sheriff's Academy, but I lived in Riverside County, and it was just kind of by accident why I went to San Bernardino. My friend was already there, so it was an easy in, and it was a known. And then Riverside hired me after I graduated, and I've been there ever since. It's a fantastic county. We're inland. We're considered the Inland Empire, east of Los Angeles, north of San Diego. We go from almost the Los Angeles, Orange County line, and we go all the way to Arizona. We're a massive county, about 70, almost 7,800 square miles, 2.5 million people. I have a large agency. My agency is the 4th largest in the country. We're the 2nd largest sheriffs in California. Los Angeles is bigger, and then we're next. I've got about 4,400 employees, 17 contract cities. So I'm the chief of police of 17 cities, in addition to the sheriff of the county. We've got 5 jail facilities, 16 courthouses. It truly is a massive operation. I'm the coroner, the public administrator, and my budget is just shy of $1.3 billion per year. And I'm very proud, and I take great pride in finishing in the black every year. I'm very fiscally conservative. I don't like spending, I don't like paying taxes. So being a spender of taxpayer money, I want to make sure that I do everything that we should be doing to not only save money, but spend money wisely to make sure that our residents are getting the best bang for their buck, for their law enforcement, for their public safety. And we do a fantastic job there. It's I'm proud of my agency. We've gone from my time as sheriff, when we were almost on the brink of failure, to one of the premier law enforcement agencies in the country. And it's very rewarding. I know a lot of it is because of me, not because of what I did, but because of the leadership of putting people in the right places, letting our organization grow how we should be growing, let individuals have great ideas and run with them and make us better. And it's worked. And I truly, what I've been told is I just need to take everything that I did for Riverside County and amplify it on a bigger stage and make sure we do the same for California. During the COVID
world closure, there was a few different counties that sheriffs stood behind, against the shutdown.
Yeah.
Tell me about yours.
So, arguably, I mean, there may be someone somewhere, but definitely not in California. I believe I was the first in the country to stand up and say, you aren't going to do that here. We got a little bit of a head start in Riverside County because the first plane that was admittedly brought into the country with people on it infected with COVID came to our county. We have an Air Force base there, so the plane landed at the Air Force base, and it was our responsibility to quarantine them for 2 weeks. So we quarantined everyone on, it was on base, but it was law enforcement that had to keep them there. Doctors monitored them and everything else. So we got a little bit of an early start in what to expect from COVID. And as it progressed over the next couple of months, in the law enforcement world, in the public safety world, and it wasn't just me because I was meeting every day with my fire chief, and we would sit in the room and just listen to everything that was being told to us. And in that emergency response thought process, I mean, we're being posed with an emergency, and naturally it should have been me and the fire chief that were tasked with solving that emergency. That's our job. And unfortunately, we were kicked out of it. And they put it in the hands of our public officials and of our public health department, who have never managed an emergency, who have never had anything even close to that amount of responsibility. And he and I realized several weeks, maybe 1 month, 2 months in, that we weren't being told the truth. The stories were changing, nothing added up. They wouldn't answer our questions anymore. Our questions that were very valid and common sense-ish were being either ignored or pushed aside. And so it was very apparent to me that the original idea that what we were told is that 40% of the people were going to die. And that was a scary situation to be in originally, but then several weeks, several months into it, it was obvious that was not true. It was just simply not true. We were being lied to. And it got to the point where they were shutting things down. And I went to a Board of Supervisors meeting, and the governor's order was, we knew it was going to happen, and then all of the counties and the cities were supposed to follow suit and everything else. And I got up and I gave a speech. It was a 3-minute speech that basically said that I took an oath to defend the Constitution. And what they were doing was unconstitutional. And it was the first time in the history of our country that the government had taken away our civil liberties, including the right to assemble in church. And I just said, it isn't going to happen here. And there were so many things that were going into it. One of the big ones was that the governor was releasing all of the inmates from prison, saying that it was dangerous. They were going to die in prison because they were confined in tight areas and everything else. And so his mission was to close prisons anyway. And he used a made-up emergency to further his agenda of closing prisons. So he let all the inmates out. And then when the inmates were let out and they had all this extra room, he just consolidated them and then closed the prison, shuttered it. And so while that is happening, the government is demanding that law enforcement arrest people for not wearing masks, or for coming out of their homes, or for not closing their businesses, or for showing up to church. They wanted pastors arrested for having church. And I couldn't do it. I remember having a conversation with my wife. It was the morning of the Board of Supervisors, and I told her, I said, I gotta go and stand up for this. I've got to do this. And she said, you can't. I'm like, don't do it. That's career suicide. And as I started to watch the supervisors meeting on Zoom, and I could see the direction they were going, I had to do it. So I went and I gave that speech. And one of the things that I said was, you know, they're talking about these essential businesses, and it's like everybody's business was essential to them. That's their livelihood. That was their employees' livelihood. That's how you put food on the table. And I said I would never make a criminal out of a single mother that was trying to put a roof over her kid's head while the governor was releasing real criminals into our streets to victimize us. And that went completely viral. I became a national news story. And I just continued it from there. The media knows that I give good sound bites because I speak the truth. I'm extremely blunt, maybe sometimes too blunt for some people. And fortunately for me, it's worked out well. Unfortunately for some people, especially politicians, I call them out. I don't allow them to lie. I don't allow them to deceive us. And it's that's really what has brought me to this point. Who better to take over for them than the person that is doing everything he can to expose them?
Did you get much pushback?
No, hardly any. You know, there was. I take that back. From my county, almost none. From the Democrat Party, I became enemy number one. Enemy number one. When I said that I was not going to kiss the ring of the governor, I became enemy number one. There is actually it's a joke within all of the sheriffs that that it was called the Bianco law, but the legislature changed the election for every sheriff in the state. We used to be on the governor's cycle, so 2018, 2022, 2026. So in 2022, they changed it, and they made it on the presidential cycle. And they outwardly stated that they were doing it because they know that in the presidential elections, more Democrats come out to vote. And so they wanted more Democrats coming out to vote to unelect people like me so they could put more progressive police reform sheriffs into office to take my place. And that was because of the Democrat Party in Riverside County, what they were trying to do to get me out. And then when I went against the governor and the attorney general, then it took on a state party. So then it was they found out that after I did what I did, then several other sheriffs immediately after did the same thing. It was like, wait a minute, we can't control those people. They're elected. They don't answer to anyone but their constituents in their counties, and we can't tell them what to do. And that became a liability for the Democrat Party in California. So they've been trying to do everything they could to get rid of us. They want us unelected in our elections, and then they're even trying to take away the ability for residents to vote for us. They want the sheriff to be appointed, so they have political control over us. So it's been my time as sheriff has been, it's only been 7 years now, but it's been a lifetime. It's things that sheriffs before me, have never had to deal with. Civil unrest, the pandemic, this political fight that is completely anti-public safety. I mean, we have to all admit that our current state government does not care about its residents. They don't care about you being safe. They care more about the people who are in jail and prison than they do about the victims, and they do about law-abiding people in California. And we're just backwards, and we're going to make sure we change that.
When do you think it changed in your experience? When did it change between, I mean, it's almost it's a battle, Republicans, Democrats. And if you're Republican, doesn't matter who the Democrat, candidate is next year, they're going to vote for that. I mean, when did that change?
It was decades ago. We became a party line vote decades ago. We just didn't realize it. On the Democrat side, it's been that way for many, many decades. You vote Democrat and only Democrat, and you try and convince everybody to vote Democrat. Republicans, historically, would just vote for the person that they believed in, And then what we've learned and realized over the past many, many years is a lot of Republicans, when they don't like who their options are, they just don't vote. And that is why we have anywhere, depending on the election, we have anywhere from 30% to 70% of the population doesn't even vote because they don't feel like their voice matters or their vote counts or anything like that. And we've really gone into a party class society. And I honestly think that's changing. People are tired of it. People are absolutely tired of politics. They're tired of politicians. I think it started with COVID. I think that the big change in California, maybe even the rest of the country, was in our school systems. And when government started messing with kids, the mama bears, the claws came out, and they stood up and said, hell no. You aren't doing that to my kids. And then that caused, with all of the moms standing up, then of course the dads are now going to be more vocal and they're going along with it. And I think that was the real change of where it started in California. Public safety was a big part of it because we're sick of homeless. We're sick of all the money being wasted to make the problem worse. We're sick of not being able to afford a home. And we're tired of being lied to. And I think that rise in the population is people coming together just saying, I want something better. And really, neither party is giving it to me. I want to vote for the best person. I want that leader. We need a leader. We need somebody of character to actually be in that office. And I truly do believe that that's why we're seeing such a swing in not only polls, but the fundraising that I have going on. It's not just Republicans. It's Democrats. Independent Party of America has endorsed me. So I have the Independent Party. I'm going to have the Republican Party. And I know I'm going to have a lot of Democrats.
Do you think the attempt of assassination, obviously of President Trump and recently Charlie Kirk, do you think that has had a big impact and change in mentality of just people in California and what they really and truly want for the state?
I do, because people are realizing how dangerous it's become, and we're actually in real time watching people who are supposed to be leaders of our state, which is our elected officials. We are watching them stoke the flames, and we are watching them try and use it for their own benefit, twisting the truth, twisting reality. And it's just to the point where it's too much. Third world countries is where you see political violence. You don't see political violence in the United States of America. And now we are repeatedly, over and over, 2 attempts to assassinate President Trump. Charlie Kirk being assassinated in front of all of our eyes. Those are all political assassinations. That's third world. That's not here. And I think that's where we are, and especially in young kids. Nobody wants to admit it politically, but Charlie Kirk had our younger generation. I mean, he had them involved, he had them thinking, he had them back to critical thinking skills instead of just believing what they were told, and taking away someone that they looked up to. I mean, he was 30 years old, but he was embedded in that high school, college genre, and he was their hero, he was their idol, and he was taken out because of politics. And I think that kind of it kicked a sleeping bear. And I don't think that the political world realizes what's coming. I hope you can feel it on social media. You can feel it on college campuses. You can feel it when you go out in the business community. And I hope that we're just tired of the dysfunctional direction that we're going, and we just want some common sense back into our government.
A few years back, there was obviously that recall Governor Newsom, which failed.
Yeah.
Why do you think that happened?
I don't know. I don't want to just jump up and say that it was fraud and rigged elections and things like that. Although we do know that happens. We have to admit that happens. We have to realize it happens. But how, at that time, I mean, if you take yourself back to that time, you couldn't find anybody that was happy with him. And the only thing that I can think of that's different then and now is we were still embedded in that party line vote. So it was easy to go out and get the signatures to get on the recall because everybody was sick of him. But then it came to the election and people are apathetic voters, they're uninformed voters, and they just went straight party line. And I think that a lot of the people that don't vote are the ones that think more along the lines of maybe we do, maybe the middle of the road people. They're the ones that are disenfranchised from voting, and so they're busy, they're working, they're taking their kids to practice, or whatever the case may be, and they just don't take the time to vote. And the voter turnout shows it. I mean, we should have, we're the United States of America, we should have 100% voter turnout. And we just had a special election in Riverside County, we had 18%. I mean, we should all be embarrassed that we're not paying that much attention. We all like complaining about our government, but we're not taking that active role to fix it. And I honestly think that outside of the special elections, because that's out of the norm for people, they don't realize it. Everybody knows that every 4 years there's going to be an election. So the main election, the governor and the presidential elections, you get obviously more turnout, more response to those elections. But I think this is going to be one of the biggest ones we've seen.
Do you think there's ways to fix that?
There is. We're going to have voter ID on this ballot. That's going to be huge. If we were able as adults to sit here and say how our election system should work, neither one of us would say we can't have a secure election. We're not going to say, hey, let's set something up so somebody can cheat. Let's set it up to be fraudulent. We're going to say we absolutely need a very secure voting system where we know that only California residents are voting. We don't want Arizona making our rules for us. We don't want China making our rules for us. So we have to have only California voters vote, and we have to know who's voting. So voter ID is universally accepted as, yes, we should, you have to show ID to buy anything. Right. But yet not to vote. And so this voter ID that we're going to have on the ballot is going to be big because it's going to bring a lot of people out to vote that normally wouldn't because of the fraudulent system that they believe we have or that we may have. And they're going to say, hey, that's something we absolutely need, and I need to get behind that. I can vote for that. So even if they don't vote for anything else, they're going to come out for voter ID. That's going to bring more people out to vote for me, though. Just that conservative mindset that's tired of government, that wants something new. So everything's lining up. It's going to be a perfect storm come next November in that November election. We'll have voter ID on there. We're going to win the governor's office. And then we get to fix the voting system. Then we get to make it to where not only do you have to show ID to vote, but you have to vote in person. There's not going to be any more vote by mail. Vote by mail is 100% designed just to cheat. That's what it's there for. And it's something to plead on your emotions, to make it easier for you. And that's the whole thing, that they wanted you to believe that we're going to make it as easy as possible. And COVID, we have to mail everybody because we can't go out into public. It was all a lie. And it was also they could implement mail-in balloting only, and you just have to think about it and employ a little bit of common sense. You have no idea who's filling out that ballot. You don't know who they are. We know now that dogs are voting. Dogs are voting. Dead people are voting. People that have left the state decades ago are still getting ballots mailed to the home of the next people that live there, and we know that some of those people are filling out those ballots and voting for them. That's absolutely wrong. That's not a secure election system. So number one, we have to win. I have to win this election. We're going to get voter ID on there. I know that's going to be on and it's going to pass. And then we take away the vote by mail. We get back to an in-person voting. I'm even going one step further. I'm not promising this, but we will think about it, discuss it, and it may be a good option. We have a lot of holidays in this state. A lot of holidays. We can swap one of those holidays for an election holiday. And we can make it to where it's a holiday where nobody works that day, and your only job for the day is to make sure you go vote. Pick the government who you want.
100%. That's, I mean, we kind of got that in 2020 with the elections, the mail-in voting, which we all saw, the bins of, envelopes that never got counted.
Yeah.
So now it makes, I think Americans, Californians are more up to speed as far as like when you say change does have to happen. How do we make that change? What can we implement? What can we take away, to make all these changes happen to where you do feel secure, you do feel like your vote's going to count? Because, that's the biggest worry.
Yeah. And our founding fathers set up our system for change to happen through the election process. But if you're not engaged in the election process, if you're not actively participating, not only about whether or not you vote or not, but who you vote for, then you're failing the whole process. The whole process collapses because that's not how it was designed. It was designed for Americans to play an active part in choosing their government. There's a fantastic quote by Thomas Jefferson that says, "The government that you elect is the government that you deserve." And so I don't want to talk crap about Californians, but when you go out into public now, it's hard-pressed to find anyone who is happy with California. But yet we elected all those people.
Right.
And so you have to take an introspective look and say, hey, this was our fault. Either I wasn't paying attention, admit that you voted for the wrong person, that party line is not the way to vote. Party line voting is disastrous, it's destructive, and you have to start looking into the people that you're voting for. Vote for character, vote for honesty, vote for integrity, vote for someone that's not doing it for the wrong reasons. And that's how we're going to make a difference.
When do you think you feel like law enforcement had their hands tied? Because it seems like, there's so much crime, it's just all around us here in California.
Yeah, it was definitely, you can go back in time and point to during the Obama administration. And I'm not saying it was Obama that did it. It wasn't, I don't think President Obama purposely set out to destroy law enforcement. But that's when it happened. That's when the demonization of law enforcement happened. That's when cops became the bad guys. That's when it was the demonization was meant for what used to be a noble profession, what people would grow up and strive to be, that I want to grow up to be a cop or I want to grow up to be a fireman. Those were demonized. And so you were pushed away from that. Cops are racist. Cops are bigoted. Cops are evil. Cops are criminals. That's what was beat into us. And it truly was not only demeaning, it was demoralizing to the force. And it got to be, then you started seeing the lawsuits and police reform. Police reform is the biggest lie that is one of them that has ever been pushed upon us, because it sounds good, because the word reform means that something's broken and you have to fix it. Right. I mean, hey, let's reform this. Well, of course we're going to reform that. Let's make it better. But the true definition of what was happening in California police reform, and that spread throughout the rest of the country, this happened from like 2010 on upward. Reform, public safety reform, meant that criminals were victims and law enforcement were the bad guys. That's what the reform was. They want you to believe that we're all racist. We do everything for racist reasons. We're all criminals. We all steal from you. We break the rules. That's what they want you to believe, even though it's factually completely inaccurate. And criminals have been made victims. They're victims of society. And they even, in Sacramento, they even actually talk about it, that people wouldn't commit crimes if you didn't have nice stuff. If you didn't work hard to have that nice house and that nice car, then that person who's only didn't get it because of the color of their skin wouldn't have to come steal it from you. They talk about it like that in Sacramento. And so they have really decriminalized the penal code system in California. They have made what used to be crimes are no longer crimes. And then they've done it in a dark room where the media didn't report it. We were lied to about it happening. Prop 47 back in 2014 was the downfall of public safety in California. They called it the Safe Schools and Safe Streets Initiative, which I want safe schools and safe streets. I'm sure you do too. Mm-hmm. So if you only read the name of the ballot measure, you're going to vote yes for that. Well, when you voted yes for that, 66% of the people voted yes. They made crime legal. They made things that used to be crimes not crimes anymore. They lowered everything. If it was a felony, it went to a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor went to an infraction. Infractions went away. And so it enabled criminal activity. And then it followed with AB 109 was right before, so all the prison inmates went to county jails, forced all the criminals that were in county jails to be released because now we're holding state prison inmates. Prop 57 made violent crimes not violent anymore. So everybody that was in jail for extra time for really harming us, they took it away and then released them all. And that was their version of reform. A love affair with criminals at the expense of law-abiding Californians. And we've been dealing with that since 2012. And that spread within a couple of years across the whole country. And then when you got to the part about the George Floyds, and there were a couple of other instances where they truly pointed to those across the country to then go for the defund the police movement. And now we all know what that did. When you take away police, we all know what's going to happen. And thankfully for California, we didn't experience that a lot. Riverside County, 0. There was no defunding the police. No cities, no county, nothing. We care about public safety. And for the most part in California, it was like that. The big cities, Los Angeles, not so much. San Francisco, Oakland, all the places that you see that are honestly just trashed, they defunded the police. They took money away from the police. The demoralization of law enforcement, the lawsuits that people are allowed to sue us for, and that just by doing your job, you can now go to prison, it made it to where cops didn't want to work. So they'd go to work and you're just afraid to do anything. You can't go arrest that person because you know that person's going to fight with you, and then you're going to go to jail for fighting back. That's the environment that they created here in California. And it's just been in the last maybe couple of years that we've been able to get some wins back, that we're turning the tide. We know now that the majority of the public does not believe any of that. We want our law enforcement back. We want people held accountable for crimes. Prop 36 last year, 70% of the state passed. Every single county. That means that everyone, majority, you can't get 70% of the state of California to agree that the sky's blue, but yet they all want a different direction for law enforcement because public safety is broken in California. And we're at that point now. And the funny thing about that, I'll finish on this, and just in case I forgot it later, here's an interesting thing that's happening in this election. All of us are concerned with public safety. Public safety is always 1, 2, or 3 throughout history of everyone's priority. California, it's been number 1 for well over a decade. Definitely the last 5 years, everybody's priority was public safety. Crime, excessive crime, no accountability for crime, the homeless situation, all of those things. Well, nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is there's an election next year, and you have a society, a general public that is fed up with crime, wants something different for the state to protect us. They want to be protected. And now you have a sheriff of one of the largest counties in the state running for sheriff or running for governor. So public safety is my number 1 issue. I'm voting for the sheriff to be the governor to fix the state. And now they've removed public safety from all of the polling. So they've convinced us that public safety isn't an issue anymore, because they don't want you to believe that public safety is high. So when you look at the polls and they show public safety or crime as number 15, and you think, wow, I thought it was number 1. Maybe I'm misinformed. Maybe they fixed it already. So then you have to start concentrating on what they want you to believe by fabricated polls. Then that's what you have right now, because they know I'm running. They know when you look on that ballot and see Sheriff, Riverside County Sheriff as your choice to vote for governor, they know that increases the probability that someone's going to vote for me. So they're trying to limit public safety from all of our minds, make us have short-term memory loss like it's not a big deal anymore.
Well, fortunately and unfortunately at the same time, the media helps to keep that all in front of us.
They do.
Because we see it. We see, what's happening in Chicago. We see what's happening, up in Oregon. We see what's happening all over the country. And, that could very well be California here in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it could. I think that we're at a place, though, it's not going to work. we're going to have enough support in this campaign that we're going to get the word out. Everyone is going to know that I'm going to be on this ballot and I'm a valid option of making a difference in the state, not only economically, not only for all of the things that are harming us with cost of living and all of those things, but in the public safety world. Homelessness has to end. Law enforcement knows how to end it. They just won't ask us how to do it, and they won't listen to us when we try and tell them. Homelessness is going to be easy to fix. And then you have to get into all of the rest of the economic issues, the forcing businesses out because of regulation. Our farming community is leaving. They're losing their farms. They're selling their farms. Their kids can't afford the taxes. So then somebody else, a big company, somebody is going to buy all of that land. It's all by design. They don't want you to own independent farms. They want to control the food source. They want to control all of these things. And I'm offering to go backwards to how it should be, where we can achieve anything we want in the state if you work hard enough.
You brought up a good point about the farming, agriculture. I mean, California is obviously very big, with agriculture, cattle, farming, fruits, vegetables. And we have, like you said, a lot of places that are being told not to grow. Yeah.
Not only being told not to grow, they're being forced not to grow, because if you have, let's just use 100%. If it takes for 100% of your farm, you need 100% of your water. And if they're only giving you 35%, which that's what it is this year, then you can only have 35% of your farm. Well, that's not enough to pay your bills. So you're going to lose that farm. It's by design.
So, Sheriff, what would you consider being one of the number one changes that you would make?
There can't be one, because there's so many different parts of the state that are different, that are affected differently. You can't say just one thing, because my one thing in Riverside County might not be your thing here in San Luis Obispo. Completely different worlds, maybe. San Francisco has absolutely no ability, or should they have the ability, to say what happens in Lassen County or Shasta County. They are worlds apart, and so you have to address each individual area of the state and each individual industry differently. So overarching is the cost of living. We absolutely must lower the price of gas so we can lower the cost of everything else.
How do we do that?
You drill your own oil. Kern County has more oil than the state of Texas. California has more oil than any state, and we import 80% of the oil that we use in California. And we're the number one user of oil. We're the biggest. That's natural. That's going to happen anyway. But we import 80% of that oil. If we would just drill our own, those resources would be all of ours. That tax revenue would be all of ours. One of the things that I learned from this campaign about the oil industry, it's being kept down by environmentalists. That's it. Special interest environmentalists are preventing us from drilling our own oil. We have it all there. We have the ability. They just won't let it happen. And they won't let it happen because they want us, Californians, Americans, to raise everyone else up. So 80% of our oil is imported from other countries. So we are making other countries rich on the backs of Californians while we're paying the most for a gallon of gas. Texas, we have more oil than Texas. Texas has the cheapest oil or cheapest gasoline in the country, and it's $2.30 a gallon. And we're paying double that, sometimes more than double that. By being oil independent and the amount of revenue that generates, we could be no different than Alaska. I'm not going to say that we're going to give money back to our residents, but what I will promise is that by being oil independent and the other things that we're going to do with slashing the size of government, there will not be a California state income tax. We will no longer be taxing our income. There are 10 other states in the country that do it. It makes absolutely no sense why the largest state in the country, the fourth largest economy in the world, is taxing our residents so high. And not only do we tax so high, we're the highest in the country. And California is different than any other state in the country in that the harder you work, the more you get punished by the amount of taxes that they take from you. The harder you want to work, the more you want to improve the life of you or your family or the people around you, even your employees, the harder you try to make that happen, the state punishes you more. It's detrimental to business. And we have to realize when things don't make sense, there might be an ulterior motive that we're not thinking of, and maybe it's right in front of our face. Maybe it's on purpose. Maybe it does make sense because that's exactly like they wanted.
So how do we bring back the businesses? I mean, California used to be, I mean, obviously the Golden State, right? For a number of reasons. Everybody wanted to come to California for success, you know, building businesses, raising families. Now, everybody, they can't wait to get out of here.
So this is what happened. We had a fantastic Governor Reagan. We had Duke Majan. We had 16 years of a Republican governor after Reagan. It was Reagan, then a Democrat, and then 16 years of Republican. The state was flourishing after that time. We led the country in manufacturing. We led the country in businesses. And then since then, it has been 100% Democrat. And I hate to get the Democrat and Republican thing. You just have to realize fact, because everything got changed. Once it went to a Democrat governor and complete control of the Assembly and Senate by Democrats, we have been one-party rule since the 90s. We had a slight recess with Governor Schwarzenegger, but he kind of just gave in. He didn't want to fight. He realized it was a hard fight, so he just went along with the program. He started out great and then went along with the program, so he doesn't even count. So from the 80s, it has been one-party rule, and everything has been removed. And in that process, manufacturing has all left the state. It's rare to find a manufacturing business that's able to survive in California. They move elsewhere. We are the most business-unfriendly state in the country. No business in the country is saying, I know how we can get better. Let's relocate to California. There is no one saying that.
Right.
Our businesses are going to other states because it's beneficial for their business model or their employees or whatever the case may be. So we have purposely forced businesses out of California because of overregulation and overtaxation. All you have to do is ask a business, why'd you leave? They didn't leave because of the weather. They didn't leave because of the people, their consumers or anything, their employees. They love all of that. They left because they were forced out by overregulation and taxes. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to say, okay, then let's get rid of the ridiculous regulations and the taxes that nobody else in the country pays. Why are we being punished to live in California? We shouldn't be. Those will be removed with me as your governor. Day one, they're all signature removable. They're not laws, they're regulations, and I can suspend them with a stroke of a pen. So the business regulations that are forcing businesses not to be able to remodel, have to spend millions to remodel, CARB, the CARB is making, all of our industrial part of California go out of business because you can't afford to replace all the diesel engines in all of the vehicles. CARB will go away. CARB is not a law entity. It's a regulatory entity that can be suspended with the governor's signature. That happened. Those are the day one things that will happen, is all of the regulations that are strangling us and strangling our businesses will be removed. The regulations preventing us from drilling oil, the regulations that are preventing us from processing our oil into gasoline, the regulations that prevent builders from actually building homes. It should take 90 days to build a home, and in California it takes 3 to 5 years. Because of the government regulation, the red tape, the bureaucracy, and the fines and the fees and everything else, which a third of the price of a home is because of California regulation. If those regulations were gone, instead of paying the $1 million for the price of a home, now it's down to $600, $700. It's much more reasonable. Maybe we can actually afford homes. Builders can build homes that they can actually sell. They can't build a home now because nobody can afford the final price. That's why homes aren't being built. So you take away those regulations, now we have cheaper gas, then that lowers the cost of living for everything because transportation controls everything about the cost of living. The moving of product and people across the state, that is what drives the cost of living. That's the main driver of the cost of living. So we eliminate that or get it as low as we possibly can, and then everything else falls into play. Water. We have more water than any state in the country. It's a mismanagement problem. So day one, we sign away the things that prevent us from building dams. Those are regulatory boards. CEQA and the California Coastal Commission are the two environmental groups. That's all they are, is environmental activist groups that are preventing us from doing that. So I sign away those regulations. On day two, I call our president and say, Mr. President, I'm not going to sue you like the last failure of a governor. I actually need your help. I took away all these regulations. We have a major water problem here. Not a water source problem. We have a water management problem. We need to save all this water that we get every year. I need you to come in, send me the Army Corps of Engineers and build me a whole bunch of dams really fast. I guarantee you he's going to do it. So then all of a sudden that thing that 12, 14 years ago we all voted for to build dams, the bond measures to build dams, and they've really taken 4 away since then. They haven't built any. We'll get it done within the first year. It's not rocket science. It's just taking care of Californians instead of special interests. I can't be bought. I'm uncorruptible. I'm only doing this to make our lives better here because I want my kids and my grandkids to stay in California because I don't want to leave. And if my kids and grandkids leave, then I'm going to have to leave.
Correct.
And I don't want it to happen.
And I think everybody feels that way as well. You know, the older generation and the younger generation, you know, the kids are going to school or, you know, have careers in mind, but everything's out of state. Yeah. You know, when you come to California or you raised in California, you raise your family, well, their jobs take them out of this area. Yeah, it's not only the jobs. Your jobs are leaving. The cost of living is less, so you can make less in other states and still have far more money. We have one son that's in the Army living in a different state, and he makes less than his brothers and sister, and he has far more. The cost of living there is a fraction of what it is in California. They pay nothing like groceries like we do, nothing for gasoline. The cost of his vehicles is cheaper than what we pay for him here. Everything. His home is beautiful on land, and it's a fraction of the cost of California. And it's all because our government has failed us. It's not because of businesses here. It's not because of home builders. It's not because of us. It is because of an absolute failure of government that has taken a role and a mission of making government as big as they possibly can, and the only way they can do that is by punishing us. They have to take away our money. They have to take away our ability to make a life for ourselves. They have to take away home ownership, private home ownership. They have to take away private business ownership. And our government has been well on that line, well on that path of making that happen. And we're all finally realizing it. It didn't happen yesterday. It started decades ago. It was a slow chip away, chip away, chip away. And now all of a sudden there's only a little bite left, and we're all realizing it, and now we're trying to save it. And I think that luckily, I think we caught it. I think it's going to be fine. But there are a lot of things that need to change. You leave because of jobs. You also leave because of school. You want your kids raised in good schools. And now people are leaving because the government is forcing, 60-something, 70-something vaccinations into our kids, and parents are saying, no, you're not going to do that. That's my kid. I'll decide that. And they're choosing to go somewhere else because California is mandating it. With me as your governor, that doesn't happen. That we will never mandate vaccines for your kids. That's your job. That's your job to decide, not the government's. If that's mom and dad's decision on how they're going to raise their kids, what's going into their kids' bodies. It's not the government telling them. You made a comment about the taxes and the cost of living. Is that an easy, quick, or would that be more of a longer-term policy to reverse all these extra? It's both. So the regulations are a quick fix, but then we're actually going to have to go back in and make the legislature change some of those things that made that happen, that allowed that regulation to take place. Because what we've seen, if you know how government works, and this isn't how it's supposed to work, but this is how they've manipulated it. They pass a very obscure bill that in and of itself, the wording in it means absolutely nothing. But then it goes to the regulatory process, and how the regulatory boards interpret it and make their own rules is where all the bad things happen. So all of those regulations can be taken away, but that bad bill is still there. So that bad bill is going to have to be removed so that when I leave,
the next governor that comes in can't just allow that to happen again. So we will be able to fix things through the regulatory process, eliminating the regulations, but there's still going to have to be me working with the legislature to make sure that those bills are removed and fixed so they don't come back. And everyone says that's going to be the impossibility. I say it's going to be easy, because what I know about the politicians in Sacramento is their number one mission is not to make your life better. It's not to represent you in Sacramento. It's, are they going to get elected again? How are they going to get elected again? And if on my daily press conferences, standing in the Capitol steps, telling the rest of the state which legislators are standing in the way of making your lives easier, you're not going to get elected again. So if you truly want to represent your constituents, then you better do the job that you're supposed to be doing there, outside of the fraud, outside of the embezzlement, outside of the backdoor deals where you're taking trips and you're getting cars and you're getting tax advice and you're getting investment advice, insider trading, and all these things that we know are happening. That's got to end. And what a better way to end it by sending a lawman in to be in charge of government and be the head of California government. Arrest somebody.
Right. How do you think we correct the cost of healthcare and you know, I mean, there's homeowners can't get, you know, fire insurance.
Yeah, number one, we have to start being honest about what the problem really is. Fire insurance is strictly 100% the cause of the state. The state has done that because of regulation. For the last 5 years minimum, all of those insurance companies told Newsom and the legislature that if you don't fix your bad policies concerning wildfire management, we are going to have to leave the state. We're going to have to pull out because you are going to lose cities, and we can't afford to insure that. We can't afford to lose the Palisades. So what did they do? 3 weeks before that fire, and it's coincidence. It was not, this was 5 years in the making. And then they pulled the plug and they all left. Those people lost their insurance. Some of them didn't even know it. And then you have the fire that actually takes out a city, and none of them have insurance. But that was the government's fault. That was mismanagement of our forests. It was mismanagement of the hills around our cities that surround us. And for decades, the fire department has been begging to be able to do burns in the off season, to do controlled burns so they can get rid of some of that fuel, so they can build a barrier, a defensible barrier around these populated areas. And the state wouldn't allow them to do it because of activists, because of CEQA, because of the Environmental Quality Act of California Environmental Quality Act, because of the Coastal Commission, because of activists that care more about a weed who cares about a weed? I hope weeds go extinct. But they want that extinct weed. They want to prevent it from going extinct, but they don't care that the city burned down because of it. Right. And the fire department has been begging to make that change, to be able to do that mitigation, those mitigation efforts, so those fires don't get so big. And Newsom and the legislature refused to do it. So we have to change those regulations. With those regulations changed, and with that work done, they will come back. The problem is that's not going to be quick, because not only do I have to change the regulations, but then we have to pump up CAL FIRE with the ability and the resources to do all of that mitigation work. Then when the mitigation work is done, and only then will the insurance companies come back in and say, okay, now we can legitimately insure all of these buildings, and if there is a disaster, we can take care of it. That's what has to happen. So the homeowner's insurance is going to be probably the most difficult thing to do, because that's going to actually take probably a couple of years to manage on the positive side, where we can get them all back. Now, there are some things that we can do to force them into it. Some of these insurance companies still insure our autos. California is the largest state in the country. We have more population. We have more cars. We have more houses. We have more everything. So I can tell these insurance companies, if you're going to insure cars, you're also going to insure homes. And so we can force them maybe in little ways to get little pieces of it done instead of one big chunk and saying, okay, now it's all fixed. But it'll take a couple of years. We will do it. but it'll take a couple of years. That's going to be the hardest thing. Medical insurance is another problem. That's a national issue that we have to combat also. But in a statewide level, I know from our hospitals that the state is destroying hospitals. So the state, in their absolute desire to take more money from everyone, is extorting hospitals. So for instance, it's seismic plans, and I can't remember what they call it, but it has something to do, seismic is in the word. Every single hospital has to be defensible for earthquakes. And so every couple of years, they keep changing the rules. So every 4 to 6 years, a hospital will have to spend $40 to $80 million, sometimes $1 billion, depending on the size of the hospital, just to retrofit for earthquakes. And they just did it again. They just changed the rules again. Like one hospital that administration that I talked to, it cost them $70 million to retrofit for the last regulation that the state put on them. Immediately upon finishing it, they come up with 2030 rules. So now by 2030, they have to make their hospital defensible, so where nothing is going to happen in any size earthquake.
Jeez.
And the hospitals are saying it's an impossibility.
Right.
If we have to spend all of that money, how are we going to lower the cost of care for all of the people that are coming in here? We can't afford it. It's putting the hospitals out of business. The hospitals, every hospital, if you talk to administrators, will tell you, insurance companies are the problem. Eliminate the insurance company, because why do you need a middleman?
Right.
It's the middleman and has all of the control, and you have a for-profit business that is standing between you and your doctor. We can't have that if we truly want to be healthy. And so those issues have to be taken care of. The issues of extorting money from hospitals in regulatory fees and little fixes and things like that, that has to be taken away. But the biggest issue with healthcare is going to be more on a national level, and we need to force our Congress to do the right thing and fix these, and stop using it as an election year political tool to try and get your vote. Just fix it, because we're tired of it. I mean, it's costing us too much money. So those are going to be the two hardest things. The rest of it, honestly, it's going to be relatively simple, way more easy than what we really imagine.
We touched on it a little bit earlier about the homeless here in California. How do we fix that issue? Obviously, it's big. Here in San Luis Obispo County, you drive up and down, Highway 101. I mean, and you see it. It's all around us. How do we fix that?
It's going to be very easy. We could have fixed this a long time ago if they would have listened to the cops. Law enforcement is who deals with this on a daily basis as first responders. We absolutely know for a fact this has absolutely nothing to do with homeless. It has nothing to do with homes, the availability of homes, or the cost of homes. This is a drug and alcohol-induced psychosis that is drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and that addiction, that brain, that body disaster that is causing is creating the mental health issue. We also have mental health issues, but the majority of what we see of the people that are on the street, it involves drug and alcohol addiction. So we take away all of the money from the homeless industrial complex that we currently have, where all of our $25 billion of our taxpayer money has gone from us and completely disappeared, and no one knows where it is. No one got help. The homeless have increased by tenfold since they started doing this. It's not helping anyone. We don't know where the money is, but there's a whole lot of people out there that are rich. That ends with me as your governor, and a fraction of that money will be used for drug and alcohol treatment, and then you have to have a combination of it's drug and alcohol, mental health, and then it has to be separate facilities that actually combine the two, drug and alcohol and mental health, because it's 3 different issues. And when we start attacking it for what it is and giving the people the help that they need, then we actually show a little bit of compassion, and we stop doing what we're doing, and we're just letting them rot in their own skin and die on the streets. And tell me where the compassion is in that. But that's the answer from our current government, is just keep throwing more money to nonprofits, knowing that it doesn't help, while they continue to give all of these people money every month for their drug habits. We give them money so they can go buy drugs and alcohol. And we don't care if they're living on the street in filth. It's a shame.
Do you feel like mental health, the word mental health, is floated too easily to just give a reason that somebody's going to accept?
I think it's an excuse that it's almost like an Achilles heel that we've fallen back on to say, oh, mental health, there's a mental health crisis, mental health is increasing. Well, why isn't anyone saying why? Why is mental health increasing? There's plenty of studies out there that say why it is. I mean, I am a God-fearing man. I believe in God, and I believe that God made us perfect and then allowed us to not be perfect anymore. But He didn't make us imperfect. God didn't decide in 1980 to say, you know what, I think I'm going to give them all mental health issues. And then you can go back to 1980 and see that the mental health crisis has just continuously gone up and up and up. And at the same time, two things happened. This is way past the governor election, but maybe I can fix it here, is vaccinations and food. When they started controlling the food, the types of food we eat, I will say this, because this involves California. California will be the #1 ranching state in the country, for sure, maybe even the world. I like my beef. I think that every single one of us should be eating more and more beef. And the reality of some of the mental health issues and the health issues that we have, even into what we were talking about before, about the insurance and the medical issues that we have, the cost of care and everything else. Why are we so sick? Well, if you actually trust the science and you go find those studies, we know that it's because of what we eat now. If we would go back to eating fatty beef, we would not have a mental health crisis. They absolutely know, doctors know, that getting rid of sugar, getting rid of carbs, and going toward a keto or a carnivore diet will help eliminate dementia. So why aren't we doing it instead of pills? There's so many, bad things that are happening. But
do you follow one of those diets?
I'm carnivore.
Strictly
2.5 years.
Really?
2.5 years. I need as many cows in this state as I can get.
Well, I mean, RFK Jr. came on and took over our, that particular reason, was because of the sugars, was because of the dyes, was because of the carbohydrates and the processed foods. And, it's surprising of how much pushback he got for telling people the reason why, your diseases, your illnesses, your, dementias are such on a high skyrocket path is because the simple thing is food.
Yeah. Yeah. We need not a better source of food. We have the greatest source of food there is. Our farmers are the greatest source of food there is. And if our farmers were allowed to actually farm like they used to, and big business and big pharma was taken out of it, then we wouldn't have the issues with the food that we're even allowed to grow. The NGO, or I say NGO so much because of the other things that, what's the word that I'm looking?
The GMO.
The GMOs. We absolutely need to get back to that. We need to get back to where the best conservationist is someone that's actually in the industry. The best steward of our land is a farmer or a rancher, because if they're not going to have the ability to do it again next year. If a farmer abuses his land, he's no longer going to be able to grow crops. And if we just get back to that, where we encourage that individual to do the best that you possibly can and build your farm, build your ranch, build all of those things, we'll have healthy food again. But that's more of a national level thing. I'll do everything I can as a governor, trust me, because I'm big into the whole health scare and the health issues. My wife and I are very healthy because of it. And I don't know if I could. That's not going to be my platform of going in and telling everybody you can't drink Coke anymore, you can't have sugar anymore. But it's certainly, we may have to have, especially in our schools. I mean, why aren't we making our kids healthy? Why don't we feed them a little better? And maybe we get rid of the mental health issues, or we call them mental health issues. But when I was a kid, you were just hyper. Right. It's like, go run, go outside and play. And now, We got to a point sometimes where parents couldn't control their kids because they were hyper and they didn't have time to spend time with them. So they send them to a doctor. The doctor says, "Oh, you have a disease, and you just
Put them
need
on
to
that
take
Ritalin or whatever
you need to take a pill." And then now we know that the shootings that we have, school shootings, there's no exception. School shootings, all of the suspects are on mental health medication. That's not a coincidence. They've been on mental health medication for a long time. There's something very, very wrong. And we're not addressing the real issue. We're trying to put a Band-Aid on the cut instead of fixing what's causing the cut. And that's a much bigger issue than really the California governor, but I can certainly influence it.
Would you have a policy to potentially make the state of California a carry state?
Yes. I think that we have an issue in the state where we may have to have a state entity under DOJ that takes the whole concealed weapons permit process away from local jurisdiction, because that's where the issue is. So if you really look at the state policy, they make it very easy to get a concealed weapons permit. It truly is. The application is easy. It's very upfront. As long as you're not prevented medically or criminally from possessing a gun, you can have a CCW permit, a concealed carry permit. It's the individual issuer that decides. And so do you take me, for instance, when I took over as sheriff in 2019, historically in our county, there had only been 3,200 permits issued. And since 2019, wow, I've issued more than 60,000. And I am a firm believer. I am a 32-year cop. I am not afraid, not one single bit, of a law-abiding citizen having a gun. Not one. Not one. When I pull somebody over and that person tells me, "Sir, I have a gun in the car," it's like, okay, thank you. Don't reach for it. Where is it? Okay, don't reach in your glove box, or don't reach for your waistband. Keep it. Now I know that it's there. We're all good. I don't have to take the anxiety out of me wondering where it is.
Right.
So a law-abiding citizen is exactly that. It's a law-abiding citizen. And we have a Second Amendment right to protect ourselves. And that involves having a gun. A lot of the issue where I come into a little bit of a conflict with the gun world is there's a lot of people that want open carry. I'm not a fan of open carry. I think if you want to carry a gun, you should conceal it. Don't broadcast that you're doing it. And not that this is going to happen, but this is, if I was a criminal and if I was going to rob the liquor store and I went into the liquor store and you're checking out, you're paying for your gas. We're at a gas station, not a liquor store. You're paying for your gas, and I'm waiting for you to leave, and you're not leaving, and I'm going to rob that guy, and you've got a gun on your hip. Who's the first person I'm shooting before I do anything? Right. I'm taking you out because you're sitting there with a gun on your hip. So you're going to get shot before anything even happens. You can't save anybody. If you got a jacket over it, or if it's in your waistband and somebody comes in with a gun to rob the store, tactically, if you're comfortable with it and you've trained in it, you're probably going to be able to take that person out because they don't know you have a gun. So I just think it's much safer. I think there are a lot of people out there that are absolutely wrongly terrified of guns. And seeing someone walk around with a gun, they're wrong. But it causes anxiety, and it could cause more issues than what it could help. But if the same person, you're sitting there talking to them, and you've got it tucked into your waistband, and they don't see it, they just think you're the greatest thing in the world. It's scary. Even me, going into places, everyone knows I'm a sheriff. I'm wearing a badge. I'm wearing a gun, and everything else, and people are afraid of me having a gun. They're wrong, but that anxiety causes them to do crazy things. So I'm just a believer that you should have a gun if you want one. You should be able to carry a gun if you want one. But I also think that as a lawman, I also don't want criminals legally carrying guns. I get the whole thing that they're residents too and all of that stuff, but they've already proven to us that they're going to victimize us. So why would I give them the legal ability to carry a gun knowing that they're going to use that to go rob the liquor store. And then we can't do anything about them for having it. So I'm a fan of background checks. I'm a fan of you just coming and asking for, hey, I'm a law-abiding citizen and I just want you to give me that ability to carry my gun. And then I believe that law enforcement leader, myself, should say, okay, shake your hand, sign your certificate, and give it back to you.
So you're saying standardize the CCW across the state?
Yeah, it kind of is now, but you have individual sheriffs and chiefs that make the final decision. And I think that's where the issues are coming in now. And having a one standard, one agency issue, one agency investigate, one agency making that process, making that authorization process, that takes all the others away. Nobody's going to sue me for not getting a CCW permit, but there are other lawsuits in the state where the sheriff is being sued, or the county is being sued, or the city being sued because they can't get a permit, and that would alleviate that.
Have you seen in your area down there, you said the second largest in the state of California, with the new administration, with, crime, have you seen a big change and a big pendulum swift?
Yes, so it's definitely changing. We 100% saw on day one, it was completely obvious that the border was closed. The 4 years that the border was open was really hard on local law enforcement because of the amount of human trafficking and drugs that was being brought into the country. So with Border Patrol being ordered to do what they were doing, just processing everybody and letting them all come in, that took them away from their primary responsibility of securing the border. And securing the border not only stopped people from coming into the country illegally, but it stopped the cartels from bringing drugs in, or at least it hampered them. They were doing enforcement actions on cartels with human trafficking and drug trafficking. And when their sole responsibility became secretaries to let everybody in the country, we immediately saw that the massive influx of drugs coming into the country and human trafficking coming into the country, sex trafficking and labor trafficking that were being brought in, through the roof. And so we saw a substantial decrease on day one. What we are seeing now, though, is it's law enforcement back to what we know it as. And what I mean by that is the Inland Empire was, during the 90s, was the methamphetamine capital of the world. We had more meth labs, just our environment, very open, very rural, and you can cook meth and nobody knew it. When we really cracked down on the meth trade, we pushed all the manufacturing into Mexico. So they would manufacture into Mexico and then they would smuggle it in. Well, now they can't smuggle it in anymore. So now they're having to bring the meth labs back to the United States. So now they're smuggling the chemicals in, or we're not 100% sure yet how they're getting the chemicals in, because this is brand new. We're only 9 months into it. But now, I mean, it's been years since we have seen a meth lab in law enforcement in Riverside County. And now in the last couple of months, we've taken down some massive ones. And so we know that things are changing. We know that but the good thing is we've done it before already. So now we're just going back. There's people in my department. I was in that. That was my line of work when I was a deputy, was undercover meth, labs, those types of things. But we have people now. There was a point a couple of months ago where we took down a big lab and we didn't have anybody to process it because we didn't have anybody trained. We don't send people to meth lab training anymore because there's no meth labs. And now it's like, oh man, they're coming back. So we know things are switching. We know things are changing. It's going to go back to what it was before. Border Patrol is actually helping us now a little bit, because I think their number one mission now is finding people to deport them. So the drug trade and the human trafficking trade that we should be working hand in hand in, it's there, but not as good as it could, because their resources are being taken elsewhere. But the border's still secure. So gangs were really taking over the drug trade because the cartel was more involved in human trafficking. They were making more money off human trafficking than drugs. Now it's all being taken back. So the cartel's taking the drug trade back. It's messing up the gang activity a little bit. We're seeing a little bit more gang wars going on, things like that, as they're trying to regain what they had. And so it's not anything we can't control, but it's something that we're going to have to deal with. And then the one issue with what's happened in the last 4 years with all of the people that came into the country is foreign gangs. So the foreign gangs that are only here to commit crimes and then send the money back to the country that they came from, that's a major issue. Major issue. Venezuelan street gangs, Chilean street gangs, de Aragua. I mean, they're across the country. That's legit. They are brutal, a brutal, violent gang that is just all about drugs and extortion and all of those things. And they're running amok. And so that's something that we are having to address. That particular gang isn't as established in California as other states in the country, but we do have them here.
Well, we've seen the news here in the last few weeks of how the administration is doing their part to limit the drugs coming into the state of California and the United States. So.
As we should. As we should. We absolutely must have a secure border. What we saw from 2020 until 2024 with a complete open border and the amount of fentanyl that was that just flooded our country because of it. I mean, look at what we're dealing with now. There is fentanyl in every single drug out there. If you're smoking marijuana on a daily basis or a routine basis, you are more than likely smoking marijuana that is tainted or contaminated or laced with fentanyl, because they are trying to do everything they can to addict you. Methamphetamine, cocaine, it all has fentanyl in it. And the methamphetamine and the cocaine are more psychologically addicting than physically addicting, but the narcotic makes your body have to have it. So the drug dealers are knowing that if we can get you addicted to it now, you're going to keep coming back more and more. And then we're seeing people that are smoking marijuana thinking that they're safe, and they're dying from fentanyl overdose. It's a scary thing what we saw in the last 4 years, and we see the numbers going down now. From this time this year to last year and the years before, we can see a drastic reduction in the amount of fentanyl deaths. And I mean, it remains to be seen exactly why, but we believe, obviously, we have a secure border now, and they're not getting as much of the drug in as they were before. So it's a never-ending battle, but we can manage it.
So, Sheriff, what's next for you? What does the next year look like for you?
Every day of doing this and more. We joke that the only place that we're not is home. My horses don't remember what I look like, and that's okay. We're sacrificing our year to make sure that every person in the state knows that they have a viable option of turning our state around and giving it back to us. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that little apple that they're dangling right in front of us of the California dream, we're not going to waste this opportunity. We're going to grab it, hold it close, and never let it go. We're meeting so many people. We're raising so much money. The campaign, it's almost like, I wouldn't say it's an avalanche, but we're riding a wave. We're riding a big wave, and everything just seems to be falling into place. The amount of support that we're getting across the state is amazing from everywhere.
So well received.
We're being well received. Well received. I'm not having to reach out to anyone to have these meetings. We're being overrun by requests for me to come address group meetings or have meet and greets or even fundraisers, and it's all across the state. And it's perfect. We know that other campaigns are not like that, and that's why we know that this is something different, and that people have a little bit of hope that things are going to get better, and they're looking for me to do it, and I'm not going to let them down.
Now, do you have any dialogue with President Trump yet?
No, our political team has some type of relationship with them. We know that probably within the near future, we'll probably have to have physical face-to-face meetings with him and discuss the future of California or the campaign. But right now, I've spoken to him on other things, but not about the governor campaign.
Well, Sheriff, I appreciate you coming in and sharing some information and journey and being a part of our journey as well. Is there anything that we didn't cover?
I don't think so. I think we got it all. For all of the people out there, if you want to get involved, please get involved. You can help us out at biancoforgovernor.com and every social media platform, Sheriff Chad Bianco. The only thing I could ask is share everything that I post. Let's spread the word about rescuing and saving California. And if you can afford to donate, make that little sacrifice to save our state, invest in the future of our state, and please donate to the campaign.
Absolutely. Well, Sheriff, good luck, and we'll be getting our votes for sure.
Very good. I appreciate it.
But thank you again for coming on. And once again, your website to donate, to be a part of it?
biancoforgovernor.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was a good time.
Well, there you have it, guys. Hey, you guys have the opportunity to make the state of California your dream as well. But as always, guys, we can't do this without you and our sponsors. We'd like to thank Escalar Wine, Wine Travelers Hideaway, Visit Atascadero, 805 Custom, MGP Coating, Premier Ag, Trailer Barn, Story Termite Pest Control, Bullhorn Auto Center, Kennedy Club Fitness, Airflow Filter Services, and Templeton Heating and Air. Thank you, Sheriff. We'll see you next time.
When it comes to comfort, trust the team that's been keeping the North County homes cozy since 1995. At Templeton Heating and Air Conditioning, they're your hometown pros right here in Templeton. From tune-ups to repairs, remodels to new construction, even duct replacements and attic ventilation, they got you covered. Call your neighbors at 805-434-3741. Templeton Heating and Air Conditioning. Local, trusted, dependable.
Hi, I'm Glenn McWilliams.
And I'm Annie. As sixth-generation farmers, we understand what it takes to keep a ranch, a farm, and a community growing strong.
And that's why we started Premier Ag to bring quality feed, trusted Western wear, and real service to the Central Coast.
From hay delivery across the county to hands-on support for local youth and ag programs, we're proud to give back to the community that raised us.
And when we say from seed to stable, we mean it. We've walked the fields, we've fed the animals, and now we're here to serve families just like yours.
Come visit us at 1041 Paso Robles Street in Paso Robles and experience the difference of a store built by farmers for farmers.
From seed to store, where quality meets country.
Hi, this is Dave Story, small game hunter with Story Termite and Pest. We're a full-service termite and pest control company. From rodents to termites, we can take care of all your pest control needs. Call today, we can tailor a pest control program that will meet your needs and budget. Contact us at 805-460-0650 or at storytermite.com. Remember, we don't have customers, we have friends.
Looking for a top quality concrete coating in SLO County? Hi, I'm Matt Gifford with MGP Coatings, your trusted local expert in durable, long-lasting concrete coatings backed by Pentec's limited lifetime warranty. Whether it's residential or commercial, we deliver expert craftsmanship, premium products, and unbeatable customer service. When we say we make concrete great again, we mean it. As a locally owned, community-driven company, we take pride in transforming garages, patios, pool decks, wineries, and even interior spaces into stunning, functional areas. Are you ready to upgrade your space? Give us a call at 805-952-5301. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or visit mattgiffordpainting.com. Join the MGP Coating family today.
What's up, North County? This is Teresa Branch with Airflow Filter Service. We are a family-owned business right here in the North County. We have air filters, oils and lubricants, and hydraulic hoses. We provide services that include air filter cleaning, DPF cleaning, and waste oil collection. Come check us out at 1140 Ramada Drive, and we can help you with all your automotive and industrial vehicle needs.
Atascadero isn't your standard getaway. We're unique, just like you. We're growing, transforming, and figuring it out as we go. We're a town filled with innovators, artists, makers, and game changers. We're a little bit country, a little bit funky, and always authentic. We're here for your good times, your slow times, and your changing times. We're all in Atascadero. Come see for yourself. Learn more at visitatascadero.com.